What was that?
Wait,
Heck,
no.
okay. We're gonna call this meeting to order. Can you hear me, Julie?
Yes,
It is 5:02. And the next,
Item on our agenda is a request for remote participation by trustee Aiello due to emergency circumstances. Do you have a statement, Julie?
no, that's accurate.
Is there anyone in the room with you that's 18 years of age or older?
No,
Okay, and you'll have your camera on for the duration of the meeting.
I understand.
yeah,
And
do I hear a motion?
I so moved.
is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
You have to.
Oh, we have to
Aye.
do roll call for all of our
That's right,
votes,
roll
yes.
Sean?
Jeannie,
I
Louis, and myself, aye,
asked her.
and Julie,
Aye,
Vote aye.
okay.
It passes, and we'll note roll call that
All 5 members,
are in attendance. And
is there anybody in the,
There's nobody in the audience.
okay, so we have no comments,
regarding the closed session agenda?
so we'll now recess to closed session.
And Julie, I just need you to log out. I'm actually gonna stay on and just mute ourselves here.
I have no sound.
I didn't want you to hear all the back.
There we go.
Hi, Julie.
Oh, thank you.
Hello.
Okay, okay.
You talked to me.
Okay, we're
We're
gonna
gonna reconvene to open session at 6:09, and we'll
begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is in the front of the room. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item is approval of the agenda. We have
2 requests to comment on an item, the same item, on the consent calendar, which is the Seton Consulting contract.
and then I also wanted to remove the PACBAC contract also to discussion. So does anybody have anything else
On the agenda that they may
want to
make a change.
We need to first do input from the public regarding items on closed session. I mean, on open.
That's,
Jay?
we're on H.
You were talking about consent calendar.
Approval of the agenda.
Oh, I see.
Approval of the agenda.
Gotcha.
So,
I'll move
to approve the agenda.
agenda with removal of those 2 items from consent.
And we can put them at education services
1 and 2,
before the sports medicine item. Does that work?
okay. Is there a second?
And we're gonna do all roll call votes.
Tonight, because we have a member attending virtually, and
So we always do a preferential vote for the student first. So you can just say yes or no to approve the agenda. Yeah, thank you. And welcome, Sean.
Aye.
Jeannie.
Aye.
Louis, myself, I, and Julie.
Aye,
Okay. Item
I is special recognition for the Becky Copper Award recipients for 2022-23. And
Chris, do you have?
Yeah, I have one award for our West County activists.
Reminder to use your microphones.
Thank you. The first award I have is for our West County activists, and I reached out to those students, and I don't see a representative in the room tonight, so we will make sure to get it to our participating activists. And we really appreciate all of their advocacy for inclusion in our district and community. The second award is for Jared Brown, and I know I reached out to Jared. I see that he's joined us via Zoom, so we recognize Jared for all of his hard work in numerous capacities as a teacher leader on campus. What this reads is that Jared created a safe space and communication avenues for students, always being approachable and with a true heart to serve the student community. During the pandemic, Jared found creative ways to connect with students and athletes, always putting the needs of the kids first. Since the merging of the two campus populations, Jared continues to build bridges between students and staff and has been a true force for positivity. So we thank Jared for that.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you to the board. I'm sorry, I just finished practice and I am dealing with some car stuff, so I gotta jam home to Santa Rosa. I'm sorry I can't be with you, but I do want to thank the board for the recognition. I want to encourage everybody to come out Friday night for the first home football game, and just continued thanks for the supportive staff and admin on campus and within the district. I'm excited about the position that we're pointing towards and heading towards, and look forward to continuing to do good work to serve West County. So thank you all. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Jared.
We have one more, and I'm going to leave that to Jenny to present that one.
I go over here and I'm gonna ask Steve to come up here. Make a big deal out of it.
You should.
You want Steve to come up? Steve, would you mind joining us?
I have the pleasure tonight of presenting Steve Porter, who's walking up here with the Becky Hopper Award. Really thank the board for taking this into consideration. Steve, I can't express how grateful we at the district are and the school sites have been for your dedication to our district and providing so many hours of service to the theater, to the point where sometimes I call you to ask you questions and I'm the facilities director. So I feel pretty honored and proud. You are a two-time recipient. I came to find out from Karen of the Becky Hopper Award, and I'm not sure we have anybody else who's a two-time recipient. And I felt compelled for you to get this as you have retired as a volunteer and you are just a source of wealth of information. So having volunteered thousands of hours and your expertise in theater management at both Annalee and El Molino Theater programs, helping with band, choir, dance, and drama, Mr. Porter embodies what it means to truly make a difference. Thank you for our service to our community. Thank you for your service to our students. And we will miss you, so we hope to see you at the performances. And please keep your phone on because I still sometimes need to call you. Thank you.
Oh, I'll take a photo. I'll take a photo. Oh, sorry. All right, and right here we got paparazzi.
One more here. 1, 2, 3.
And I think your wife wants one too. I feel like I'm on the red carpet and I didn't wear the right shoes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now we are at the point in our agenda for input from the public regarding items not on the open session agenda. I will begin with the speaker cards that have been submitted. I have David Carey.
Can I get a clarification? Were you guys giving 3 minutes right now?
Yeah, 3 minutes. Thank you.
Give up on the microphone for a moment.
I don't know why it's not working,
Okay.
so if you just project.
Give it a try here. So thank you very much this evening, board members, and as always, thank you for your service. I want to talk tonight a little bit about making a distinction between activities and accomplishments. And part of it is to encourage the board in your planning and in your assessments of what you're doing and what you're accomplishing to make that distinction. So activities are what we do. Accomplishments are the results of that. The actions versus achievements, what we do versus the results. And I think there are a lot of opportunities when you're doing your planning, both in private and in public, to really focus on what is it that we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish, what are the results we're trying to get, and how we're going to assess that after we've done some things, and not just stop with, well, we're going to do this. And so I'd like to invite you as a kind of a thought experiment to think about what our school would be like, what Annalee, for example, would be like if we focused only on what students did and didn't do anything to assess what the results were. For example, maybe give report cards that only list the courses they took, but no grading, not even pass, fail, just here are the courses you took. What would that be like? Look, Mom, I'm starting my senior year and I've already completed 18 AP courses. I'd also like you to, in the same scenario, think about maybe if students had a choice about what showed up on their report card or on their transcript, whether there were any grades or not. What kind of students might prefer the no grade option, and what students might want to have the grades. And taking that a step further, if a student has opted not to have grades reported on the grade card or their report card, what might we infer about that student? So I know there's a lot that you do that is very challenging, and I know that assessing what the results are can be especially challenging, but it's something I encourage you to look for opportunities to put a little bit more emphasis on. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Our next commenter is
Mary Fricker.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I have 5 things. It takes 2 minutes. I timed it. And first, congratulations to Mr. Meredith. I read the Press Democrat article about the English teacher and the football coach at Pioneer who attributed his wise leadership in part to the example set by Chris when Chris was the Pioneer football coach and showed me that he always cared. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
2, when you report our enrollment this fall, please include a breakdown of how many of our current students come from the El Molino area. 3, I want to disagree with Chris when he said at a recent school board meeting that former business officers have been one reason for this district's deficit problems. For a decade, I've sat at school board meetings and heard a string of at least 5 different business officers, one after another, warn about deficits. 4, at the last school board meeting, I was stunned when you guys declined to answer David Stetcher's question about Andrew's budget report. That worries me a lot. In my years of attending these school board meetings before COVID, we were always able to ask a question to better understand an item under consideration. And 5, on the same evening, you did answer my question about why you're spending millions of dollars on Annalee when your studies showed that over the long term, it'd be cheaper to consolidate at El Molino. But you asked Jenny to reply, and she didn't make that decision. I believe one answer that our community needs to hear from you, the school board, that our community needs to understand is that Annalee attracts roughly 400 kids from outside the district. El Molino attracted fewer than 100 because it's so far out, a consultant told us, and we cannot afford to give up that income. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Our next
Commenter is
Loretta
Kesselberg.
I just have a quick report on the Alumni Association's business during the summer. And we were happy to help the district buy 2 welcome back signs, one for
That was here at Amley.
Here at
and
Amley.
The other one was out at Laguna.
And one out
for
at
the
Laguna.
and Consortium.
And so we purchased those for the district. And then in the summertime, we honored people's bidding things that they did at our golf tournament. We had 3 fishing trips that we paid, we made the lunches, and the person who had the boat provided the gas and all of that. One was for the baseball team, one was for the Alumni Association this year, one was for the Alumni Association last year, because sometimes people don't collect. And it backs up. So we did 3 fishing trips. We did our 50-person block party, which had Jimmy Bertoli's band, and Jeannie helped serve, and Linda helped make goodies for it. Victorian Farmstead Meats cooked a big pig, and it was great fun. And those are the kinds of things that bring people back. And when you go out and ask for donations, they're the ones who say, oh, I remember that block party, here's some money. So we did that for the summer. And we look forward to working on other projects at the school. We've met with a couple of people who have some ideas. And then I just have one question. And all the years that I've come to board meetings, there's certain procedures that go on so that the audience knows when we have a chance to ask a question or make a comment. And if we could just follow the prescribed rules of order, then we'll all be on the same page to know, because I like to talk. I want to know when I have a turn. So thank you very much. I hope you all had a good summer.
Thank you for your comment, Loretta, and there will be an opportunity to comment on each item. Each action item.
Debbie? Can
Yes,
I
Julie.
just say thank you, Loretta, and please thank the Alumni Association for all that you do. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
The next item is the consent calendar, and I'll just read through what we have on the consent calendar, and then we can entertain questions or if somebody wants to remove another item or a motion. So tonight's consent calendar has the consideration of approval of the June 7th and June 28th minutes. Consideration of approval of contracts. There are 11, but we're only looking at 9 here because we've removed 2 to discussion. The contracts are an agreement between Sunbelt Staffing and the district for the Special Ed Consortium for Speech and Language Services, an agreement with the University of San Francisco and the district for interns, a legal services agreement with Fagan Friedman and Full Frost, an agreement with, this is, I think, the Imagine Learning. That is the, Imagine Learning contract, which is an online learning platform, Edgenuity. The Big Picture Learning contract between Laguna High School for staff development, nutritional concepts, and then 3 contracts with the SELPA, Alpine Academy, and American School for the Deaf for continuing contracts for students who have been attending non-public schools. And then we have consideration of approval of our warrants for June and July 2023. We have consideration of approval of monthly budget update for 2023-24. Consideration of approval of the quarterly Williams uniform complaint packet. And consideration of approval of the agricultural career technical education incentive grant. That is the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve that? Or are there any questions?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any public comment on the consent calendar as it is? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote, preferential vote, Phoenix, Thank you.
Sean?
Aye.
Jeannie?
Aye.
Louis?
Aye.
Myself,
Aye.
and
Julie?
Aye.
Motion passes. Louis will report.
report on any items heard in any action in closed session.
There were no actions in closed session.
Thank you, Louis. Next, we have
Principal reports.
Greg,
Would you like
you
to?
first?
Good evening, it's good to see everybody again. As we start the new school year, we have some new additions to our staff that I did want to recognize. We have Donnell Drew as our new admin assistant, Josh Shaw as our new science teacher, and Lana McNamara, who previously worked at El Molino, is back in her old classroom as our English teacher, which is pretty cool. We feel very lucky to have them, and I just wanted to recognize them publicly as we start the new school year. On August 10th, we had our orientation, which was our soft opening to the school year, and by all accounts, it went very, very well. We had great attendance. We began scheduling our one-on-one individual graduation plan meetings with families, handed out schedules and all the good stuff you do at orientation, but overall very positive and great turnout. So we're very excited to see that. As of this morning, the first 5 days of school, our ADA is at 99.53%, which is incredible. Granted, only 5 days, but we're off to a good start. We've been promoting our attendance incentive program heavily, and we're hoping that we can continue this trend throughout the year. As I said before, we started scheduling our individual graduation plan meetings. We started having those this week. The gist of those is we meet with every single student and family and lay out the path to graduation or path back to Handley High School, whatever their goals are. Lay that out in detail with them, so we're in the thick of those. We are also in the process of gearing up for our WASC visit. Our self-study report is due on September 4th, which is right around the corner. And our visiting committee will be here on October 16th through 18th. So we're planning for that and hoping that goes the way we think it will. And short and sweet tonight, but the other thing I wanted to talk about and really thank is Jenny and Denise in the technology and facilities maintenance department. We moved all of our classrooms kind of different places in campus, moved everybody into the quad this year. I know summer's crazy time, but everything was ready to go. The impact it's had on our campus is just, it's incredible. We got a lot of positive feedback from students about the closeness of the classrooms and the feeling of community. And so very, very positive there. Not be happier. And I think the last thing is just in the spirit of kind of hitting the ground running. We already have 5 students who have dual enrolled at the SRJC, and another 2 students who are planning to articulate with the web design class. So overall, I just could not be happier with the way the year started. So positive vibes and hoping we keep going.
Good, great.
Thank you, Greg.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. Like Greg, we have a number of new staff at Annalee. I won't try to name them all. I already proved that I'm not good at doing that at our sort of rally assembly that we had on the first day of school. But more than 20. We had Loretta provided one of those welcome banners for them, and we had a very successful orientation day, I think, for them. The other thing that I'm super excited about with respect to the new staff, all of our new teachers have peer coaches from among the faculty. So as a result of our transformational coaching program, Each of them has been assigned with a coach. They're getting support and not only getting sort of oriented to Annalee, but in thinking about how better to relate to their students and create an engaging environment for them. Along the same lines, one of the highlights I want to share with you is the work of our inclusion teacher on special assignment. Anita Sanduina has been working hard to sort of define her role and share the kind of support that she can provide to staff and students. She's already started to create a cohort of students who can provide restorative circles and support for their peers. She is also coaching a number of teachers around issues of identity and things that they're encountering in their classrooms. She's creating a library of sort of relationship-based classroom activities based on some of the highlights that she's seen from launch of school year kind of work that teachers are doing. A lot of really great highlights there. And she's also working on some introductory videos, I think beginning with microaggression, what that looks like, that will be shared through the broadcast daily announcements. So I'm excited about that work. This has been a busy week for us, Spirit Week. I think today was the Wild West. I was not able to participate in that just due to wardrobe constraints. I was able to do the whiteout yesterday, but that's about as far as I go. We had a volleyball game yesterday. It was pretty cool to see everybody in white, and all three of the volleyball teams dominated Healdsburg. It's also kind of fun to see. Football game, obviously, on Friday. If you're coming, it's a bleed blue and red day, so please dress appropriately. And if you have never chaperoned a high school dance, there's an opportunity this time. Welcome back, dance. We'd love to see you there. What's going on?
Association reports, I see Lily.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lily Smedshammer, President of the Teachers Association, which in addition to teachers includes counselors, nurses, speech language pathologists, and district psychologists. I want to express how well the work days at the start of the year worked for our staff. Typically, we have an all-district professional development day and a day of meetings at our site on the second day, and the third day is a teacher work day in our room before we begin with our students. This year, the professional development day was moved to a month after school starts, giving us time to meet with our students and have them in mind when we meet as a whole district. That'll be coming up in early September. And for the first time in years, the association was given a good time slot on the agenda that allowed us to speak with our members and give them the opportunity to fill out the start of the year survey. I thought this would be a good venue to share some of their feedback on what they'd like to see happen this year. Every single respondent listed wages as their first concern out of a list of 6 negotiation options. Many of our members reacted poorly when they heard that the superintendent was given a 6% Me Too raise this summer. I had really hoped that we were moving beyond this practice in the district. A 6% raise on top of the contractual 1.5% raise increase amounts to nearly $15,000. Meanwhile, that 6% raise for teachers averaged around $3,700. Percentages as Me Too raises just don't work and are not equitable. We do not want the gap between our first-year teachers and the superintendent to continue widening by such an extreme. Our members also asked that we maintain vigilance of the superintendent's performance as a leader of our district, advocate and communicate consistently with our site administrators, engage with selecting professional development topics and presenters, develop a positive, transparent relationship with our superintendent, improve communication with the tech, maintenance, and facilities departments, and ensure that our members are involved in future facility construction plans. In regards to our trustee relationship, our members asked us to invite trustees to campus for open classroom lunch, and I believe we have trustee Trinilla, who's going to be coming in September, and also to invite trustees to our classes. When asked to write free responses about our concerns, our members added, reduce the cost of costly consultants. I do not believe it is financially responsible to pay someone tens of thousands of dollars when we could potentially handle these issues in-house. My concerns are those associated with the reasons for our prior admin leaving. I am aware that there are places in our contract that are tiered. What I mean by this is not all of our staff members have the same benefits. I find this creates division and would like to avoid that in the future. I would like to see us more friendly to part-time staff. Being able to work part-time allowed me to have time with my kids and work. Had I not had that option, I might have quit. I would like to see people who are 60% be able to get benefits again. We need more coaching stipends for varsity sport programs. Football gets several, and this is not equitable for the other sports programs. I would like the trustees to follow up on questions about the admin exodus. Heat and bathrooms, always. The inability to take Family Medical Leave Act without first losing all of our personal sick leave days. If we have 10 personal sick leave days, we should be able to choose how we use them. Speaking from experience as a new teacher, if you do not have roommates, you cannot live without parental or familial support. You cannot afford to live anywhere near the school, let alone in the county. Wages and columns. I don't make enough to afford to move myself over on the pay scale. And what this means is teachers have to pay out of pocket for additional university units in order to earn more money. I also feel like as a professional, I shouldn't have to justify what I do with my personal days. Facilities and air conditioning for our classrooms, providing more oversight of facilities expenditures and where that bond money goes. And that is it. Thank you all for listening. We're looking forward to teaching our new crop of students and to a strong negotiation year.
Thank you, Lily. And I think I saw a head shake, no CSA. Board reports, and not to put you on the spot, Phoenix, but if you'd like to introduce yourself at this point, or just tell us a little, or you can say past, not required. And make sure your button is pressed on you.
Hi, I'm Phoenix from Laguna. I'm the new student representative for Laguna. I am in 12th grade and I've been at Laguna since the beginning of last year. Yeah, I'm excited to be part of this. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for stepping up. Sean?
Nothing at this time.
And Jeannie?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say I spent an eventful summer doing many things, but one of the things that I always love to do is attend Stone County Fair. And I made a point this year to attend quite a number of activities that our ag students were participating in. I got to watch them show pigs, I got to watch them show sheep, got to watch them show cattle. So I was really intrigued, and all I can say, I was never so amazed at the number of awards that these kids won. Unbelievable. And I would like to request that we ask the ag department to invite some of those students so that we can actually maybe like honor them for the hard work that they've done with their animals. And in some cases, some incredible work that they've done. So I would love us to consider doing that at one of our meetings, just to come and be able to laud them a little with all the hard work that they've done. And that's kind of where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say a couple things about the DEI committee. We met a couple weeks ago. The DEI committee, which has been working on an comprehensive DEI plan for the district. That's a long, it's not a 1-year project. I think it's a 5 or 10 year project. And it's really about looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion, means it's broad, you know, it means race, it means gender, it means class, it means geographic regions, it means ag versus academic. I mean, it's the whole picture. And it's so exciting to see how it's developing. The plan is amazing. We're in the process over the next probably 4 weeks of really reaching out to student groups and staff to get their input. And it dovetailed with the work that Chuck's doing and that Nicole and Anita are doing. It fits in with the idea that incoming new teachers have a peer coach working with them right from the outset. So we can really change school culture for the better, and that's for the complete gamut of groups that we have, both adults and kids. So I think it's very exciting. It's really, really moving in a great direction. It's very comprehensive. And it really wraps into not just the plan itself, but the way that we're looking at staff and our kind of community interaction.
Thank you, Louis, and thank you for the hard work that you and everyone on the DEI committee are doing. It really shows. Thank you. Well, welcome back. The new year seems to be off to a good start. I saw a Press Democrat article that came out to Annalee on the first day of school, and it just really sounded like things were going in a really nice direction, and people seem happy when I've been on campus. And so that's great stuff. I spent some time over the summer looking at Portrait of a Graduate and doodling up a version. We have a version that writes out all of the traits for students and graduates. And I kind of made up my own bullet points for what we could use the same Portrait of a Graduate headings for board and leadership. And it's just sort of a doodle at this point, and I want to share it with the full board at some point. We are looking to calendar a session to work on our governance handbook. And so I can bring it to that, and I would love to have wide input on how we can demonstrate these traits and be role models for the students. On September 27th, I am signed up to attend a workshop. It's called the CSBA Roadshow, California School Boards Association. I got it in an email, and I just went ahead and registered, but I wanted you all to know it's on Wednesday, September 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. in American Canyon. So it's in Napa, but it's for Napa and Sonoma, and they will be says meeting topics include but are not limited to legislative priorities, member training, legal advocacy, CSBA mission and goals, programs and policies, and state budget. So I have gotten some really good professional development from CSBA in the past, and Phoenix, you would be welcome to go. Also, we could talk about carpooling if you needed that. But if anybody wants to go, I guess Karen could probably help them find this. I think when I signed up, they automatically copied you with the information, so.
When is it, Debbie?
It is Wednesday, September 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. at American Canyon High School. And that is all for my report. And Julie, do you have a
nothing at this time.
Okay. And then moving on to superintendent report.
Yeah, so welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, trustees, for the 23-24 school year, and welcome, Phoenix. The first few weeks have gone very well, and I've received positive feedback thus far. Enrollment, I'm happy to present that it's better than projected, and it was 1572 as of yesterday versus 1534 projected in the MYP. There were 134 interdistrict applications submitted with only 36 outgoing requests approved. This number is likely to decrease with regard to students who actually enrolled butts in seats, but Karen is currently conducting an audit to determine the final numbers of students in seats, and this data will be presented to the board at a future meeting. As Lily mentioned, we kicked off the year with a great day of site-based professional development on 8/14. I started my day in Forestville, visiting with the Laguna and consortium staffs, and I then had a scheduled time to deliver a message to the Anley staff. One of the unfortunate things about going last with these reports is sometimes I'll repeat some of the things that everybody else had a chance to engage with and participate in. And I too was able to spend some time with the ag teachers at the Sonoma County Fair. I haven't been in many years. And so that was really cool. And Heidi schooled me up on the world of ag. I'm really proud of the efforts of Nicole Wilkinson in working closely with our administrators, teachers, and staff to lead the development of our professional development planning. She sent out a Google form to all staff to engage and really encourage their input in terms of informing our professional development planning. We're looking forward to our first 3 district-wide PD days, and the first will be conducted on 9/11. Nicole has secured a number of guest presenters from SCO to facilitate a great day of professional learning for all staff. On October 9th and January 22nd, we'll follow the 9/11 day with a continuum of learning as a number of guest facilitators are returning to go deeper into their themed breakout sessions. All sessions will have an equity and inclusivity theme embedded into the content of the PD. As Lewis mentioned, the DEI committee continues to work collaboratively in building our strategic plan for 23-24 and 24 and 25 and beyond. As we've discovered, it's a marathon and not a sprint. And I'm glad that everyone is starting to realize that we have much work to do. And the goal is to create a sustainable, inclusive culture. We're really in the process of determining our time frame for next steps with regard to engagement and curating input from our educational partners. And that's all I have today.
Thank you,
Chris. So now
We're going to go to the items that we removed from the consent calendar. Maybe you can give us a brief overview of this PACBAT contract and program, not really even so much, the specifics of the contract, but the things that this program will do.
Well, I'm not an expert in that area, but I am a listener. And this was definitely something that was advocated for by staff and working with our new site administrator, who also worked closely with our County Office of Education. It really made this a no-brainer. We're learning, and I'm learning about AI, what it can do, the challenges it poses. More importantly, I think the leverage that we can utilize that in terms of educational opportunities and shift the way we're thinking. So those are some of the reasons that I thought it was a great idea to support. I'd be happy to have Chuck elaborate a little bit more on what he's learned and how he sees this opportunity providing support for our teachers and ultimately our students. The great thing is that this costs us no money. And it was something that we felt our staff was passionate about. So I won't lie and say I'm an expert on AI. I can barely utilize my phone. But Chuck, if you can provide some more context for the board, that'd be much appreciated. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Well, normally there's a microphone there for you, but.
Our microphone is dead. I
it's got the teacher
lots
voice.
of tech difficulties.
Sorry.
Sorry.
PACBAC is very interesting. It was brought to me by staff who had discovered it on their own. A number of folks are interested in, worried by, intrigued about artificial intelligence. If any of you have played with ChatGPT or other kinds of AI, you'll know that it's sort of mercurial and unreliable and but also really interesting. So PackBack is sort of a safe platform with which to engage in exploring AI. What's really interesting about it to me is that it's a way to help our teachers teach about it, what it's good for and what it isn't. And it gives scaffolded supports around how it can be best used. So it actually gives feedback on the queries that you develop. So if you're trying to learn about something, it will tell you how your query, it gives you what's called a curiosity score for the query that you develop. I like that a lot because it's obviously aligns with our Portrait of a Graduate. It's one of the ways that we can really think about maybe using that as a way to develop meaningful alternative assessments and think about how do we teach about curiosity. This is one way we can get into that, I think. The other thing that's really interesting about it is that it helps teachers develop ways to create prompts that teach the AI to give feedback. So it works both ways. So you can actually have engage with the AI to develop feedback for students. You give it your own parameters and teach it to create good feedback. That makes sense. So in a sense, it can be used on the student side to improve information gathering and refine writing, and on the teacher side to streamline the feedback process, to use AI to give better and more efficient feedback to students. So it's a little bit of a pilot. As Chris mentioned, I happened to know about a grant opportunity in my previous place of employment, and I got it in there just before I fully left. So we were able to sort of secure that without any cost to the district. So if it works out, we might want to pursue some way to support our teachers and students about AI in the future. It's not going away. It's definitely something we need to get in front of, and we need to teach about. So,
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions for staff around? Is there any public comment on this item? I'll say I'm a big fan of AI. I adopted it like the day ChatGPT came out. And it's funny, so many students that I talk to are afraid of it and they say they haven't even tried it. And I think it is a very powerful tool. And I think that the sooner we all start learning how to leverage it, the better. So do I hear a motion to approve the PackBack contract?
So moved.
Second.
And Phoenix?
Yeah.
Sean?
Aye.
Jeannie?
Aye.
Yes. Julie?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So the motion passes. And then the next item we have is the
Seton Consulting Contract. Chris, would you like to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you know, we'll be coming into the third year of our existing 3-year cycle with our LCAP. The state will be releasing a new template and will be not only revising the third year of the existing LCAP, but we'll also be building a new 3-year plan with a new template. As I mentioned, going through the process of public hearing and the adoption of last year's LCAP revisions, our LCAP is very basic in nature. It's reflective and indicative of only our supplemental funding. That's the 1.5 million that we generate through our 40% unduplicated student population. To build a more robust LCAP, the process is going to entail a lot more work and a lot more support, I believe, would be a huge return on investment in terms of what we can do for students, how we can align this with our DEI strategic plan, with our CSACE plan that Laura's working on, and with the implementation grant or the planning grant we got through the Community Schools of Practice, which funded the new position of our wellness coordinator, Sheila Richmond. Through that process, we're going to be doing a needs assessment And we had a meeting today to talk a little bit about the future of what that could look like. Dovetailing all of these processes and plans with our LCAP will help the district really reimagine our why and build a more robust LCAP. And I believe that through this contract, not only will we have great support, it'll be a professional development opportunity for myself and others that will be involved in building out this new LCAP plan, and we'll be able to do it right. So we are in a position where if the board approves this contract, we're actually going to be able to leverage double these services because this person is also engaged in a contract with SCO. So half of this would come on SCO's dime, not what we're putting forward before the board, but another really $20,000 in services in terms of what this person will do to engage with myself, our educational partners, and other leaders in building a more robust 3-year LCAP cycle. And what I mean by the current LCAP being limited to our supplemental funding, our goal is to build an LCAP that's reflective of all of our expenditures that support student achievement through programs, staffing, professional development, and really all other expenditures that aren't pertaining to maybe maintenance operations and bills like that. And so there's a few different ways to write an LCAP, right? We've done it the more kind of basic way. And I really believe that if we're going to reimagine our why and fold in those other plans, that we really want to make this a really robust process, as I mentioned. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions. I hope that gives the trustees a little bit more background on what we're doing here. And I will note that once we go through this process of rebuilding the new 3-year plan under the new template, obviously this will be my first time building out a new LCAP. We won't need to rely on consultants each and every year. This is going to equip not only myself, but the other folks that are going to support the building of this process, our educational partners, even our board of trustees, to better understand why the LCAP should be and will be the guiding light for our district.
Thank you for that.
Chris, do any trustees have clarifying questions for Chris around this contract?
I
We
do.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Sorry.
It's okay. Chris, could you describe your role in this process with the consultant? And also, could you tell us a little bit about how you're going to use the LCAP throughout the year to guide the district and direct it, how we're going to use it?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role is going to be hands-on, right? I'll have Shella working closely with myself, obviously Andrew on the budget side of the component, but we'll both be in DTS. We'll both be writing. We'll be engaging and supporting. I'll get really good guidance on how to best engage with our ed partners and really build that engagement through curating that input. So I think that there's a lot of value in having someone supportive in that way. Last year, I attended all of the workshops set up by SCLS, SCO. I went to the CDE series of webinars. And then we were fortunate enough to have Shella on contract with SCO to support our revisions of this current LCAP in year 2. All of those different opportunities that I mentioned prior to the opportunity that we had to work with Shella didn't compare to the value that we had of that hands-on support. And Shella was an assistant superintendent in a number of large districts down in the valley. And this is her passion. This is her area of expertise. Julie, I want to make sure I cover all your questions. So we see this as an ongoing process throughout the year. The plan would be to begin sometime in September, potentially as late as October, in developing and meeting with our educational partners. And I think something came out of this meeting today with Laura and Sheila, our new wellness coordinator, that we can fold in Laura's compliance and her engagement opportunities for CSACE, as well as this needs assessment that could generate $3.5 million over 5 years. That's the implementation grant. And 2 other districts have received that grant, were awarded. One is Guerneville, and they were the first in Sonoma County, and the other is Shoreline down in Marin County. And we really see this as an opportunity to not have so many isolated plans. Like we have the DEI strategic plan, we've got CSACE, we're really rolling out this CSPP planning grant to build on our wellness processes, but also look at a needs assessment with the potential to maybe build a community school and do some more work around what we're doing in terms of best utilizing the Forestville campus and providing student opportunities for those that don't necessarily fit within a comprehensive setting. So there's a lot of layers to how we would leverage this contract. It's far beyond just the LCAP, but with regard to the LCAP, it's really going to help us build our best LCAP that we can build. So
my other part of that question was, lots of times we build these documents and they could be really great and then we don't look at them again. I want to make sure this is a document that we're going to use. It's a living, breathing document that guides us in our decision making, our curriculum development, all those things. And I just want to make sure that that's, we're going to use this document. We're spending a lot of money to create.
absolutely, Julian, I appreciate that. And that's part of building in the non-contributing expenditures and building actions that are reflective of all district expenditures, not just the supplemental funding. We work with about $30 million, and the LCAP, before we revised it, really only reflected the 1.5 million in supplemental funding. So if we leverage, as you say, Julie, and use this document to really guide our processes, that's going to be where I think that the purpose of the LCAP is just that. It should be the guiding light. I think our district is in a position post-COVID, third year post-consolidation, where we've never looked more different. So it's time for us to reimagine our why. Building a new 3-year LCAP plan through that process gives us a great opportunity to do that.
Thank you. And I would concur with that last piece for sure, Julie. I think it is important to have this as a document that really becomes something that we look back at. If we take all of this time to put it together and come up with plans of action, it's a really then can be a great tool for us to make sure that we're continuing on the track that we want to be on. So thank you for that question. We have 3 public comments on this item. Let's Lily, would you like to come up and speak?
Thank you. No one's disputing that the LCAP is an important document and that it should guide our decisions. But generating that LCAP is supposed to be an internal process that yields insight and a plan for action. So I'm shocked to see this item here to approve a contract with Seton Consulting. We are already given access to through SCO to essentially write our plan, when it is typically the job of a superintendent. This process is meant to be seen as an opportunity to grow as a district leader, yet we're looking to hire it out. The board summary of this item under approval of contract states, this agreement provides hands-on consultation, coaching, and guidance throughout this process. That makes this sound like this contract is a service that will provide advice and assistance as we go through this important self-evaluation. Yet when I read the actual addendum to the contract where the services are stipulated, I read that they will create goals and actions that align with the strategic planning process outcomes, that they will write the plan summary section to align with the district vision and state results, that they will write educational partner engagement section to align statutory requirements, that they will write the increased improved services required descriptions for contributing actions, that they will prepare the LCAP using document tracking services in collaboration with the CBO, and that they will revise where necessary during the LCAP review and approval process with the Sonoma County Office of Education, which feels to me like an odd position for us to be in, where SCO contracts with these people already to review district proposals, and now we're hiring them and asking them basically to engage with themselves. These districts do not, or these services do not sound like guidance to me. This agreement clearly states that Seton will be generating the language in our LCAP for our superintendent in exchange for $20,000. That money is desperately needed to create class sections that would alleviate the current strain on our packed academic support classes. This is a waste of $20,000 that should be going directly to serve students. I want to recommend that the superintendent instead attend the LCAP update webinar being hosted by School Services of California. It's taking place on December 12th, and it costs $275. By taking this route, the superintendent would not only save unnecessary consulting services dollars, which is an ongoing problem in this district, but would learn to do this vital part of his job. After all, Section 3.5 of his contract states one of his duties and responsibilities includes endeavoring to maintain and improve his professional competence by all available means. Please reconsider approving an unnecessary contract with Seton Consulting. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment, Lily. The next commenter is Brian Miller.
Hi, I'm Brian Miller. Again, this wholly unnecessary expense for somebody we do not need. At $20,000, it's almost poetic. That's the same cost of a section. Item 3.1 of the contract with Seton states that the term of the agreement started August 1st, 2023. How did that happen without board member approval? And are we on the hook for the month of August if the board decides not to approve this expenditure? Item 3, the contract states consultant will exclusively own all rights, title, and interest to any methodologies, specifications, documentations, techniques, processes, interventions, tools, and materials of any kind used or developed by the consultant in connection with performing services, including all intellectual property rights. That is an absurd thing to pass over to this person. Why are we inviting an organization into our district, our processes, our student data, and then allowing them to own the rights to everything they generate? This is unacceptable. Developing the LCAP is supposed to be an internal process, much like the WASC process. Item 7 of the contract states consultant's total liability to the client from all causes of action and all theories of liabilities arising from any breach, error, omission, or negligence by the consultant in the course of providing services under the agreement will be limited to and will not exceed the amount paid to the consultant. So if the consultant is completely negligent, totally screws it up, what they literally wrote in their contract is it doesn't hurt them, it only hurts us. That's a crazy thing to sign into with this consultant. I mean, we're putting $1.5 million in on this, and the consultant's only willing to put their $20,000 that they gain. It is unacceptable. So, in closing, this is an unnecessary expense. It's $20,000. We do not need this person, and we should not hire this person. And this contract is unacceptable as written.
Thank you for your comment, Brian. And the next commenter is Violet Dindal.
Thank you for having me. I'm a special education teacher here at Annalee, and I'm also the treasurer of the union this year. A few years ago, I got my administrative credential, and I haven't been brave enough to jump ship from the classroom into the jobs that you all do yet. But we did spend a good amount of time looking at the development of LCAPs and being mentored by principals and other administrators who developed LCAPs at their sites. What I took away from that training, and now that I have many friends who work as administrators at the site level and at the district level, is that creating the LCAP is a dialogue between the community and the school. It's a holistic and organic process that involves all stakeholders, including parents, teachers, and administrators. The LCAP is designed to show how we justify the increased local funding that our school districts were granted about 10 years ago in tandem with meeting 10 priority areas, including things such as how are we going to maximize student engagement, or how will we maximize parental involvement. And at the same time, the LCAP needs to include very clear information developed with parents and students and teachers. How will we serve our students that are living in poverty, our students that are foster youth, our English language learners? These are things that we need to work on coming to agreements about as a community. This is a very divided school community. as we all know, after the several years. So I'm not used to talking in front of adults, not forgetting to breathe, but I would just encourage that we could keep this process in-house. There's lots of people who would like to be involved, myself included, and I think it's doable. I've never confronted any sort of legal document I don't feel like I could wrap my head around. But I have an accounting background, so maybe I'm just a nerd. But I really think we should keep it in-house.
Thank you for your comment.
So when I saw this contract,
It,
didn't look to me like we were outsourcing the LCAP.
it looked to me like we are bringing in,
Some expertise to help hold
the process.
I think this is
The third year cycle of LCAP happening. I think we've had
it's a 3-year cycle, so we're going into a new 3-year cycle. I think it's a
really important and powerful time. There have been, you know, a lot of upheavals in our district.
And I know there is a great deal of desire to have significant community input to these plans. And when I look at this contract, it looks like
we would have an
expert to hold all of the technical pieces
and
engage with us in order to better engage with the community. So
when I saw these numbers, it seemed like a pretty low price to pay, and I did not realize that there was also a piece that SCO was going to be taking on that's just going to boost that a little bit more. Last week, I watched Governor Newsom gave a update online. He was talking about the family agenda, and he spent a few minutes
talking very enthusiastically about the LCAP and what a great opportunity this is for local communities.
LCAP stands for Local Control Accountability
Plan. And 12 years ago,
the state
said, we're not going to tell you how to do every little thing.
We're going to let your community design
what's best for your community. And I think the more help that we have to put a really good LCAP together, the better.
I have a question. So the $20,000 consulting cost, it's coming out of a grant. How restricted is that grant? In other words, the argument we're hearing from commenters here is that money could be spent on a section. Is that true, or is it actually restricted to this kind of consulting?
No, it's not restricted. Right now, the plan would be many other districts, when they're engaging with an LCAP consultant, will fund it through the LCAP. It could also be funded through educator effectiveness. Obviously, neither option would hit the general fund. And I would also, unless you have any other questions, just address some of the things that we heard as well. I understand the concerns with regard to some of the waivers of liabilities and some of the contractual language that you see in a number of different contracts for a number of different services. This is a person that I believe is very trustworthy. They've been brought in, highly respected. They have an ongoing contract with Sonoma County Office of Education. The original contract we received with the proposal of services entailed a lot of what we heard the public speakers asking for or saying was missing. That piece is going to be picked up on SCO's time, the facilitation of creating a process internally and engaging with our folks. Debbie, I think you said it really well in terms of holding the process together and guiding the district through. I think that there's a lot of value in this, and I understand the concerns of those that spoke at the podium. But you know, it's a choice that the board has to make at this juncture, and I think that this is a really great opportunity for us to engage in a different type of process. And I welcome Violet and Brian and Lily and all of our partners as we assemble our Ed Partner Group. I'm excited about people that are willing to really get their hands in on this process. It's gonna be engaging. It's gonna look different than our district has ever seen. So I'm hopeful, but I understand that this decision is in the hands of the board. But Shella is a stellar individual that's gonna help our district move forward in a time where we really need to do something something different with this new 3-year cycle.
Yeah, I have concerns about the community involvement in the LCAP, and if this is really gonna address that, then it seems like a good thing. I'll give a personal anecdote. About a year ago, I was invited with another parent to come to the LCAP meeting that was like this is your chance as a parent and community member to have your input on the LCAP. And I walked in and I was given a 30-page document. And so we have 2 hours and we can make comments. It's ridiculous. I didn't get it a week in advance to read it. It just, and it was like, okay, so now we have community input. So we need to do better than that. And I guess as a board member, I need to balance in my mind some of the comments that we're hearing here, which are saying are we outsourcing the process, and are we really not going to dig in and really make this an organic document that comes out of our broader community? Or is this really going to facilitate that?
It's going to facilitate that, and I can leave you, and Andrew heard this, with something that Shella left with me that I think really motivated me to want to have her propose this contract to the board. Is through this process, this is just one example, is working so closely with your educational partners that you're also allowing them opportunities to really draft language that they'll see in the LCAP. That's how close we want to listen to our educational partners. And that's just one small example of how people feel that their voice is heard and see what they suggested or the input they brought to those facilitated meetings reflected in a document that lives and guides the district practices. That's just a small example of the kind of engagement that Shell is going to help provide for us. Granted, this is something that we could embark on this journey without these services. I'm going to continue to attend all of those trainings and professional development opportunities to continue to grow and fulfill my responsibility as your superintendent. But my recommendation to the board is that we approve this contract and we go build a really great LCAP.
Is there any other discussion?
Can we ask anything?
Sure.
Yeah.
Did we find out whether the $20,000 could be used to cover another section?
It very well could be.
So that's where we're getting our teacher on special assignment is partly being funded through the educator effectiveness block grant, right?
Yeah, so there would be two options. Right now, it was recommended that we fund it through the LCAP because that's a practice that most districts do use when they're engaging with a consultant. But we could look at different funding sources, and that could be something that the board gives us direction to. To the point of the folks that spoke, our teachers, our academic support sections are funded through the LCAP. So I understand those concerns, and that's a fair point. But again, I think that there's a lot of value in this, otherwise I wouldn't put it before the board.
Andrew, are there any sources is there $20,000 sitting somewhere that could be legitimately used for this that is already restricted to this kind of consulting and help? So it's not, we're not having to decide, do we have another section or do we hire the consultant?
When we look at sections, we'll have a meeting to look at sections coming up here in the next couple of weeks or week or so. So if, as they evaluate all that, we will look at, do we need to add additional sections? If we have funds in LCAP or we have funds in learning loss recovery, all the different pots of money, try to use those unrestricted dollars first. So, there's not gonna,
if you need the sections, then we gotta find a way to fund the sections, whether or not we have the money or not. We have to provide the classes and services to the students. So what gives someplace else, can be part of the LCAP supplemental funding. It could fall into educator effectiveness, it could fall into learning loss recovery, because the strategic plan, as we'll say that LCAP is really gonna do, is going to provide services to all of our students, and all of our students can be funded out of all the various pots of money that we have. So, yeah.
And one thing I'll also note, and you may recall, we had a number of dollars, a large number of dollars that were carried over because there were actions that were expenditures and action items in areas that we couldn't execute. And so if you recall, we ended up with about $500,000 in carryover, and we appropriately moved that to cover our exponential transportation costs, which serve primarily our unduplicated student population. And that's just reflective of some of the changes that we want to make. We want to build an LCAP that accounts for, first and foremost, student needs. There were a lot of areas for professional development and things that would require a sub and post-pandemic. Those things were really difficult to pull off. And so we ended up with carryover. So I really want to make sure that we're allocating all of our resources in our supplemental funding most appropriately to benefit our students, but also with our other funding sources, which is why I want to build an LCAP that is reflective of contributing and non-contributing funds.
Hi, I'm Sean. I was told myself I was gonna be quiet, it's my first board meeting, but I just want to bring up that it benefits our students and it also benefits our community. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so our teachers are our community, the workers here are our community, and people like me are our community as well. Okay.
Yeah, I see this as helping us with community engagement and really tailoring a LCAP that is going to serve us well 3 years into the future. And I don't think that this is necessarily something that you would need to do for year 2 and year 3. This is the initial structure of the 3-year LCAP, and then we just do the smaller updates throughout the year.
Internally.
Oh, if you can come up to the.
Is it okay if I just talk to her? I'm basically a human loudspeaker. I don't
Okay.
think anybody.
Julie, can you hear?
I can hear, but I can't see her.
You aren't missing much. I don't really have a question. But what I do have is that I want to at least voice the hope that in the process of this, and it sounds like you guys are all to some degree or another leaning toward this. I still think it's an unnecessary way to spend money, especially if we haven't even decided whether or not we have enough sections for things and whether or not we're serving kids first. That said, if this comes to pass, my dearest hope is that this is not an abdication of responsibility. I hope you won't take this too personally, but in the midst of you getting a raise, like the raise and everything else, and the Me Too raise on top of that, and what Lily talked about in terms of the widening gap between first-year teachers and you, I really hope that we still see you at the front of this process and that you are taking this as an opportunity to learn more about this district, to be more hands-on with its administration, to know the kids, to know the teachers, to know everyone who is involved as a stakeholder, which I hear you talk about frequently. And that I don't see whoever it is that we are paying this money to standing in your stead.
That's the plan.
I hope that it continues to be.
Any further discussion? Or motion?
One more comment, just because I talk too much. I think to address some of your concerns, in an ideal world, we would have a perfect superintendent that could do everything and be everything and everyone would love and would be brilliant about every single aspect And that's an impossible bar to hold. And so if we need to, from time to time, and we have to be careful about the slippery slope of consultants, I agree with you. We've talked about it internally, legal consultants and this consultant and that consultant, we have to be careful. But I think it may be from time to time when we have a big project, it's important. And if it really is a strategic plan that wraps together a lot of things we need to do over the next, 10 years or the next 3 years in the plan, then maybe we need to do that and just realize that we need to, Chris is a good guy and he's smart and he's done a lot of really good things for this district. And I think he's gotten a bad rap part of the time too, and that's a whole nother story. But if he, maybe he needs support on this and maybe that's okay. It's not perfect, but maybe that's how we get a really good plan. And I think this meeting and this discussion hopefully raises the bar about that Chris really does take leadership on this and really make sure that we're not just outsourcing this to a consultant, and that we really do knuckle down, we really get buy-in, we really get input and we really listen and make it a really good plan.
I just have one other comment, if I may. I haven't heard that anybody was particularly satisfied with the LCAP in the past, not how it was developed or how it was used or what it said. There was just a lot of comments that we as a board heard that it was an insufficient document. So my comment is, we certainly can't do it the way that we have been doing it. And it can't look the way that it has looked, and it can't be used as little as it has been used. So I think it's important to definitely not do it the same way that we have.
Those were my words exactly, Julie. That we have spent years producing this document. We talk about it once or twice a year, and it's not been utilized. It's not been, it's not been used to its fullest capability and to what I think it was originally designed for. I really believe that we need to give this opportunity that we have put in front of us a chance to create a document that's actually really valuable, that our district can actually use to tie in DEI, that use to tie in our special education services, to tie in many of these areas that we haven't done so. And it can't be done like it's been done in the past. It's kind of been fly by night. Chris inherited a document, in my opinion, that was sort of useless. You just heard him say that he had areas that money was set aside for, that there was no way we could even begin to use that money. To take $500,000 from the LCAP that we couldn't use in what it was designed for, and to use it someplace useful is fantastic. But that's not what it was designed to do. It was designed to be serving everyone's needs in our district that maybe have the least amount. And putting it on the transportation was a fantastic idea, but we need to make that then part of the process. So I firmly believe that this is an opportunity for us to have a well-oiled, well put together, really inclusive, really strategic plan with regards how we're going to utilize these funds. And if it turns into another opportunity for even more money, well, that's even better. So I think it's money well spent, and I think it gives Chris the opportunity to grow. And it's something that we've asked, something that the community's asked, that he learn some of these skills. He's brand new. He's not done this before. He inherited, in my opinion, a mess, and he did as well as he could with that, with the help of this consulting firm in the first place. So I think it's an opportunity for us to really delve deep to utilize everybody's expertise and knowledge and give people what it is that they want and what it is that they need. And then we really utilize this document and not just have it sit on a shelf. It's useless if we're not using it. Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the 2023-24 Seton Consulting contract.
I'll second.
Phoenix, a preferential student vote? Do you agree? You can abstain if you don't feel like you have the whole understanding of what we've been talking about.
I did not read the contract, so I don't feel super qualified, but I'm gonna side with the teachers and say no.
Thank you, Phoenix. Sean?
Aye.
Jeannie?
Aye.
Louis?
Aye.
Julie? And
Aye.
myself. Aye.
Thank you.
The next item is the sports medicine presentation.
I am happy to welcome Kai Hamlin to provide the Board of Trustees a presentation on the potential need for athletic trainers, what that looks like throughout the county. And I know that he's excited to speak a little bit about his sports medicine program as well. So welcome Kai Hamlin. He has a presentation for you all, and I'll turn it over to him. Thank you.
Okay, no microphone, so I'll also kind of use the coach classroom voice and such. I want to thank the board for the opportunity to present and try to educate a little bit about what athletic trainers are and why I'm advocating that the district consider hiring one in a full-time capacity would be ideal. We can, but we'll mention some other options as well. Before I do, I want to thank a couple of people for their contributions to both this presentation and for helping me organize some statistical information that I think would be useful for people to review. So I want to thank Stacy Fortin, who is our work-based learning coordinator. Her and I's discussions sort of started this whole process of how could we get someone on campus to really fill our student need of having access to work-based learning, internships, observations, those kinds of things that are actual requirements of the CTE world and the CTE pathway. So thank you, Stacy, for that, and I appreciate you being here to support. And then Dr. Moni Sieda has been a big a partner with me in the new pathway that we started last year. She has been basically just an amazing individual, and then helping to come and provide education opportunities for my students by speaking to the class. And she has helped me, helped our students on a number of occasions through her athletic training group. They actually use some nonprofit approach and funds to provide underserved student athletes with the medical attention that they need. So far, she has been a huge help to me in my program, but more importantly, really someone that our students and our athletes who get injured have been able to rely on in an ongoing way. So I want to thank Dr. Sieta for that. Also, she was very kind enough to share with me slides from another presentation similar to this one that had a whole bunch of really useful statistics and citations of where they came from. So I didn't want to have to recreate all of those as opposed to attach them so that you could refer to them at another time. Or I don't think we're going to spend the whole time today. So basically,
Just tell me when you want me to go to the next slide.
okay, that's how this is going to work. So for those that don't know me, my name is Kai Hamlin. I am the CTE sports medicine teacher here at Annalee. I am also a football coach. I am a parent of 2 students currently at Ansley High School, 1 sophomore, 1 freshman, both are athletes, and both my sister's kids are freshmen here as well. So I'm speaking from, you know, an educator perspective, but also a community member, a parent, and a coach. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we're gonna talk about why the school needs an athletic trainer. And there are several different, you know, components that I'm gonna look at from the district, from the CTE world, from the community members. And then there are some legal things that are going on in the state of California that may actually affect the requirements for athletic trainers in the first place. So they're in the state legislature at this point, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Excuse me. The other capacity that I've been working in this district for the last basically 15 years with a 4-year hiatus up in Point Arena. The other capacity besides teaching and coaching is I have been basically providing athletic training services to our football teams, starting at El Molino for many years and in the last few years here. Frankly, that's a bit of a problem because I am, you know, educated on the athletic training, but I became a teacher and not a certified athletic trainer, which means that in those last 15 years, all of my continuing education has been focused on how do I improve curriculum development and delivery? How do I assess students more effectively? And the medical world, of course, changes a ton. So despite the fact that I'm happy to do these things for our kids, but I always want them to be as healthy and return to health as possible, as fast as possible. There is a bit of a problem with that being the only one on campus anytime, especially after hours when practices or games are going on, that has the medical training or background to try to help an injured athlete. Okay. During the school day, we do have the school nurse, but again, I don't know that level of like orthopedic understanding or ability to deal with injuries. So to start with, I think the main thing that the reason why the district does need to consider this is the health and safety of our student athletes. Just over the summer, as a football coach only, we had some very severe injuries, a lacerated spleen, 2 concussions, 3 broken hands, all of which happened without pads. Right, we're not even in contact at that point yet. So I don't think there's a whole lot of like news there that football is a bit of a violent sport and can cause injuries. But I think the relative unknown is that it's definitely not the only sport where that happens. And in fact, girls soccer seems to be one of the main sources of athletic injuries for youth. And then that's not to mention all of the basketball injuries or baseball, softball. I mean, we do have a lot of extracurricular activities in sports here in the district. And I'm just a football coach. So I'm not at any of those other things as it is. I'm only at games and football practices. So I see that as a major problem. And I think our main focus should be on the health and safety of our students. As far as other things about the district perspective, as you can read for yourself there, but employing an on-site ATC will reduce absences for students based on injuries, which of course means less loss of ADA attendance money. We've got reduced insurance costs, and there are statistics in these slides that I've attached that are cited so that you can actually look at the real numbers. I'm trying to just generalize right now because I know we're not in an actual action moment, just trying to start the steps of finding out how feasible this is for the district. So reduce liability and on-site risk management for not having an unqualified person handle all the injuries. And then again, the laws may be in the process of changing. There's a bill in the state legislature that will create a new kind of governing body for athletic trainers in California. Move to the next.
Just kidding. Come on. All right.
Okay. This perspective is a bit unique to our district because we are the only ones currently who have a CTE sports medicine pathway. Which does really tie in with having a industry professional on staff that will really streamline some of those work-based learning and internship learning through work requirements of our CTE program. As it is right now, we are trying to working with the work-based learning department, trying to get a program going that will pair students with internships and trying to find homes for them. This is called the ECC program. If we have an on-site professional, that would certainly streamline that to where those students that are interested in those fields, shed some water, would have someone on site, which would eliminate transportation issues, especially for those students that don't drive. Trying to get to internships is tough. I want to mention at this point that multiple schools in Sonoma County do already employ athletic trainers. The precedent is there, and it's a growing need, a growing understanding amongst athletic departments and boards and admin that it needs to be expanded. And none of them have a CTE program that they can tie it into. So I would feel like at this point we're already a little behind the 8 ball as far as that goes, where there are plenty of reasons outside of the CTE world why it's better for our students to have this these services. But now that we do have the CTE program, this person would be able to come talk to the classes. They can supervise the job shadow requirements. They can be the mentors for the field experience hours that are required to pass through the CTE world. Go ahead, next slide, please. Okay, and then from the community perspective, again, better care for our student athletes. That's important to everyone involved, without question. It will keep students less time, or allow students less time away from classes because they will be getting on-site services for rehabilitation and treatments for their injuries. Parents will have the opportunities to either be at home more where they would be, or miss less time at work for taking their students to various treatments. It'll eliminate things like unnecessary ambulance rides, which are very expensive, or trips to the emergency room that could be avoided by proper assessment and knowledgeable treatment. And then reduce costs for all of those pre and post surgery. And really that bottom one there, giving families the peace of mind knowing that there is a qualified and dedicated health professional on site at sporting practices and events and games. So again, at this point, I do want to point out that the statistics show that a very large number of the athletic injuries that people go through and experience happen in practice, not just in games. So, the fact that we have like an EMT group at a Friday night football game, that doesn't really do anything for us the rest of the week when we're practicing, and multiple things happen in practice all the time. So where are the possible sources? There are several. Thank you so much.
You helped me with my arm last year.
In case you hadn't noticed, I am also much more comfortable talking to a group of students, athletes, things like that, than I am to adults. You're doing great. That was great. Okay, so I did some looking into how other districts have funded their athletic trainers. And we've got everything from tapping into their general fund to athletic department funds. There are industry grants that people have written and obtained. The one that I noted on there is an NFL grant that is about this exact thing, trying to get more athletic trainers in high schools. This is a nationally recognized issue, right? That we are underserved for health professionals in high schools. With the connection to the CTE sports medicine program, there's also a possibility for funding, at least partially or possibly fully, a salary like this for a trainer, through one of the CTE grant pathways, right? I won't claim to be the expert at this. I'm new still to the CTE world. I have, you know, a year under my belt, but have not written grants, and it will require me more to lean heavily on the few people that we do have that are basically experts at this. So I have had some discussions with Superintendent Meredith. Have not had enough discussions yet, but the man who really knows what he's talking about with this stuff is sitting behind me over here, and our new principal, Mr. Wade. And then, you know, obviously, we have a CTE grant coordinator position here, and Heidi Nicholson, who is obviously very good at her job. So my hopes are that the board will consider this as, you know, a necessary investigation, so we can find out the real, you know, is it feasible? Can we find the funding? And how do we make this happen? Because one, we need it for the kids and their safety, but as, you know, a little selfishly in the CTE sports medicine pathway, it checks a lot of the required boxes for what we need to be providing for students and what, you know, consulting from the industry we need to do in order to basically guide our curriculum development and what our students need.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Trustees have questions for Kai?
I'd like to say thanks, Kai, for bringing this to our attention. And I think it's certainly worthy for us to have further discussions about this.
I guess, you know, I took a couple of things from that. Thank you for that presentation. I jotted some notes. I got some ideas while you were talking, and, you know, we have this wellness center that we're developing, and I wonder if there is some way to also like collaborate with them and incorporate this with the wellness center. And what, I don't know exactly what their plans are and if it would, but I'm just saying, you know, as something to explore that might be worthwhile, you know, all of the talk about, you know, students needing to do rehab and ambulances, that was all very alarming to me. That there's such a dire need to have medical care on campus because kids are missing so much school because of all of their injuries. So I wonder, it just made me wonder, do we keep track of that anywhere? I mean, I know you said you know what happens in football, but I wonder from a district standpoint, if down the road, we could get some kind of data on, you know, how much injury is happening with our students.
We compile all of our incident reports and injury reports. We're required to fill them out anytime a student's injured, because that's part of our requirement and responsibility with RESIG. So we could absolutely pull some internal data to better inform how we explore this.
I think that could be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, there is potential, as Kai mentioned, to potentially fund this through, because it's linked to a CTE program and there's an industry engagement and industry professional requirement to provide those opportunities for kids. I've seen that done in other districts with other CTE programs where different positions unsimilar to this, but we're affiliated with a specific CTE pathway. So, you know, Kai and I will continue to have conversations. I'm curious to talk with Chuck and Heidi more about it and explore potentially what this could look like with our next CTIG grant, the CTE incentive grant, which is a 2-to-1 district match grant. So a lot of things to further explore, and we thank Kai for coming and sharing and advocating for sports medicine and athletic trainers.
Thank you. And Laura, do you have a public comment?
I do have a point. As a wife of a football coach and lots of other coaches, not other people. So a football coach who has coached many other sports. I've seen the need for this for over 50 years.
Yeah.
My husband's probably the worst injury he ever had to deal with was a broken neck on the field. And when you are in the moment at the activity and you have to call 911, every second counts. You need to have somebody on campus. And as the mother of a former player who was injured a lot, and I'm a grandmother of a former player who was injured a lot, last year my grandson was in Kai's class and he tore his knee up in football and he missed a lot of school because he had to go to physical therapy 3 days a week in Healdsburg. And the physical therapists don't care that you're a student at school. They only have their little schedule. And they don't do after school hours most of the time. So I can see that would be a really helpful part of having kids in class, you know, staying at school. I support this 150%. I think it's a long time coming. And like I said, he's the football coach and he's there. But what about the soccer team? And what about the volleyball team? And what about badminton and golf and everything else? We need somebody on campus. It's, you know, we just need it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I also, I know maybe that's there, but I also live in Sebastopol and I think that's something that we have discussed at, you know, at our table, planning table. Only because I see so many patient athletes that I think Kai did an amazing job of referring to us. I actually have a nonprofit that we started specifically for that reason, was because we were just seeing a lot of athletes who were getting injured. And because of the fact that they couldn't get proper care, they were not getting care. So the whole premise behind the nonprofit organization specifically was to fund and take care of those athletes. And that's how we have been able to take care of our local community. But it's just a very small funding. And I think what I mentioned about having an inclusive environment to promote just the sports medicine field itself, I think is really a value add for our community as well. And I say that because I live here in Sebastopol, so.
Thank you.
I'd also like to add, having been on the field for so many years and all the different sports. My daughter went to college and worked her way through school as an athletic trainer in college. So I know how important she was a softball player. And without trainers to do the work, I, as a parent or as a manager, would have to stop someone from moving a child with a broken leg off the field because they wanted to get the game going. And that's something, it's so important just for the health of the child and for the program. But not only that, it's taping a knee right and an ankle or a wrist, so that they don't, you know, they don't throw tape on. I've seen tape thrown on completely wrong, and it does nothing to help them. Any athletic program with any merit to it should have something like this. It's important for our kids, our teachers, and everybody that's involved with it. So I would 100% back this.
Thank you. Okay, so our next item is a report on annual school site discipline report for 2022-23. Are you presenting this?
Yeah. I think, you know, obviously this is a routine item, but when I went and compared the data from the prior year, I think most notably, we made some significant improvements. So last year was what, 22, 23, so 21, 22, there were 12 expulsions to last year's 1 and 79 suspensions to last year's 52. So I think that that's, you know, tip the cap to the prior administration and the staff, campus supervisors, support staff, counselors, everybody all the way around for making vast improvements in that area. I want to note that Laguna will be preparing and is in the process of preparing their discipline report. We'll bring that to you in September. Routine item, good data to look at, much improved. Got it.
Are there any questions? Any public comment? This is an informational item. The next item is the first reading of recommended revisions from the California School Board Association on updates on policies for June 2023, policies and administrative regulations, which are, the policies are what we do and the administrative regulations are how we do them. And we have a large packet of them. I'll read them not by number, but by title. And this is just the first reading that we have on the agenda for today. And then next month, if there aren't any changes, then they'll come back to us on the consent calendar. So this month we were looking at district and school websites, certification, employee notifications, bargaining units, personal illness and injury leave, personal leaves, family care and medical leave, inter-district attendance, mental health, school health services, parent guardian notifications, differential graduation and competency standards for students with disabilities, non-public, non-secretarian school and agency services for special education, education for American Indian students, education for English learners, bylaw on agenda and meeting materials. So those are the policies that we've reviewed so far. And if any of my colleagues have questions or discussion on any of them, now is the time. Is there any public comment? With that, we will move on. Item number 4 is the consideration of approval of resolution number 1, August 2023-2024, declaring September as Attendance Awareness Month. And so we have a resolution, and I've heard, some questions. Why do we have resolutions and what do they mean? And, a resolution is a statement of the belief of the district. So this is something that happens in districts all throughout the county, the state, probably the country, declaring September as Attendance Awareness Month because it is so important for students to be at school. And this resolution is particularly around chronic absences and the damage that that can cause not only to the student, but also in the classroom overall, when teachers have to go back and spend some time during the class getting kids up to speed that have been chronically absent. And as I was reading through this, and I thought, okay, yeah, of course, attendance is important. Let's just say we too believe that attendance is important. But it made me wonder, why? And what can we do this month in September? Maybe taking time to listen or gather information from students about what maybe prevents them from coming to school. Why might they it's too early to be chronically absent, but maybe in earlier years, or they have reasons. And I did a little bit of reading, and among other things, some of the things that are chalked up to chronic absence are mental health issues and physical health issues, transportation, which can be an issue for a lot of families in our very large district. Family responsibilities. I don't know if this is something common here, but apparently a lot of times students are in positions where they have to take care of younger siblings, and that causes chronic absence. Lack of engagement. Maybe they just don't want to go. They don't really think they're going to get anything out of their day. They know, you know, it's an even day or it's an odd day and they don't like the classes on that day. And so they're not interested in attending. Bullying or social issues, maybe they're struggling academically and it's easier to just not go and than to go in and, you know, say they need extra help. So I just really wanted maybe, you know, this is an opportunity for us. It's an agenda item to talk about attendance and maybe what, just to sort of talk about our intention and how can we come up with some ways where absences can be responded to with some proactive help. I think sometimes it might feel punitive. If when students are there's steps that we take that might feel punitive and don't really help the student want to come to school. They just are compelled to come. So those are my thoughts on this resolution.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things to note is that the sites start their impact meetings, which are meetings that they conduct to look at groups of students and provide interventions, have conversations. That's really cool. I know KKIS hit the ground running in terms of already wanting to make some home visits to the effect that one family said, please don't show up, but you know, he's still motivated to make sure that kiddo gets to school. Paul has been providing me with daily attendance reports. And so that's been really cool to see. Laguna at 99%. And Annalee hovering at about 92%, which is pretty reflective of our attendance rate last year at 91.9. So my question was, well, that's probably the same students that are in school. I know that we're still ironing out some of our interdistrict transfers and who's enrolled, who is actually intending to show up. I'm optimistic that we can continue our efforts that way. I know I talked to Laura Schmidt about this in terms of what we do through our multi-tiered systems of support to increase attendance and reduce chronic absenteeism. But I do respect that you want there to be a little bit more teeth to this in terms of this is an opportunity not just to say, hey, we all want to see attendance recognized. This has been something ongoing. I actually look back, the district's been bringing this before the board in September for quite some time. So there's some trends around bringing resolutions and saying we stand for this, but you know, what are we actually doing? And I think this is a time to celebrate all of the efforts and systems that have been put into place to support attendance.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I thank you, Chris, for kind of reiterating what it is that we, meaning our district, does. The board making sweeping comments or decisions based on what we think should be happening with attendance, that's really not our job. It's the job of our staff, it's the job of our administrators. And I think that we need to support them in their efforts. And it sounds like Chris, he just explained who all those different layers of tacticians who are involved in that. And I think that's what their job is. And our job is to gather that information and to, if we need to change policy around that or something, but I appreciate the fact that we've got a lot of layers involved in our attendance. And yes, this is kind of one of those mundane things that we do. I think it's important that we do this, meaning the resolution, so that we are standing behind and supporting our staff in making sure that we are dealing with especially chronic absenteeism. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think also as a board, and as we say here in this resolution, we're committed to dedicating resources. And so I just wanted to say that I'm very supportive of dedicating resources that staff may find necessary to help us help our students come to school. Are there any other questions for staff? Is there any public comment on this item?
You have a public comment from afar.
On the screen. Please come in the
Assuming
room.
this is Leah Woody. So go ahead and unmute yourself.
Oh, career college.
Hi, yeah, I appreciate this comment and this topic. When I was working, some aspects that I've noticed since we consolidated, that were not to drop, but there were elements that involved in, college and career, involving students, having them feel empowered and by a staff member sitting with them and seeing them and sitting with them and listening and seeing them, and knowing the resources that we have in the county. And I have seen, for example, 9th grade this year walked up to me. He said that he never cared about his grades. And now he's involved in a program and he's going to be a jet pilot. Another student is going to be CNA. She's going to do the JC program, right? So I'm wondering, I haven't been, so college and career, since we consolidated, I have not been involved in IEPs, 504s, or impact meetings. Since consolidation, I would request to be part of that, or a member from our department being part of that, with envisioning also the library was always a place for students to come to that was safe, and we would sit with them. We would have conversations with them about what's going on with their lives. I don't want to speak for Miss McClellan for sure, but I know that it has worked very well in the past, and I would look forward to having a conversation more about that. Also, the IEP meetings and having more involvement with that. And understanding the resources that we have. Students don't, and also often parents don't understand the resources that we have in our county. And it lights them up. It really does. And it gives them meaning, and it makes their school years in high school meaningful. And that's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Nobody else? Is there anybody in the room with a comment? Oh, and Lewis has stepped away. But we can carry on.
We can carry on. He just had to.
Yes. So I think we could entertain a motion. Okay. And a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Just a friendly reminder to speak into your microphones.
All right.
Roll call vote. Sean?
Aye.
Jeannie?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Julie?
Aye.
And note that Lewis has stepped away. The motion carries. Item 5 is consideration of an update to the full-time and full-time and short-term independent study agreements. And Chris, you're gonna give us.
So these agreements haven't been revised in quite some time. And then brought before the board last year and years prior. They were done a little differently across the district, and so we really wanted to make sure that we had uniform agreements. As the number one compliance factor for auditing purposes is signed agreements. For full-time, they must be signed prior to the student starting full-time independent study. And for short-term, it must be within 15 days. So we've reviewed the educational code. We've worked together with the folks that are responsible for independent study, both the short-term and long-term teachers, so that there was some engagement and buy-in with the language and with the revisions, and really making sure that our administrative team and our counseling team and the teachers responsible for ISP, whether it be short-term or long-term, could help the district support student engagement and achievement, maximize ADA, and reduce the risk of audit findings. So pretty straightforward, but we wanted to make sure with the board stamp of approval to further solidify our sound processes moving forward.
Questions for Chris?
Who was involved in that from the staff in talking about the independent study process?
So that was Ellen Hulamard actually took some liberty to revise the agreement for short term. And Gianna, as the administrator that oversees long term, had some hands-on engagement in very minor revisions to the full time. Really, the only thing that needed to be changed was the online learning platform. So yeah.
So I have a few questions.
And obviously Mr. Alexander. So he helped out with the full time as well with Gianna, so.
I think this, I reached out to you because I just wanted to make sure that these aligned with the board policy around independent study. And I think maybe when this type of item comes up as an agenda item, I think it would be really useful if there is a board policy that is related to it. I was able to find it myself, but I think it would be really useful just for all of us and for the community to just have that policy right there. And I understand that this has already been put into place, the year has already begun, but maybe in future revision, and this, may or may not be possible, but the tone feels a little bit less like a partnership with a student. And there's 12 student responsibilities and understanding, 11 parent guardian, and then 4 school responsibilities. And some of the student responsibilities are about them understanding their IEP and things like that. So I just wonder if there's a way in a future, even if it's next year version of this, to have a more complimentary sort of, we're gonna help you with this program. And then I had a question about having on here, I acknowledge that I'm required to take the SBAC test. And I wonder if we're asking them by taking independent study that I agreed to take the SBAC test, or if they actually by choosing to do independent study that they don't have a choice anymore, because I think sometimes students choose not to. And I was just wondering if we had the language perfectly right for that.
I think the language reflects the requirement that all juniors are required to take the CAS. And as I mentioned, I wanted to further look into how we administered CAS last year to ensure that our processes were conducive to supporting students coming in from different parts of the West County. So some things to look into there.
Would they be, if their family opted them out of that for some reason, would they be kicked out of independent study? Or
I don't feel strongly that that would be appropriate. I feel as though the state puts forth an opportunity for students and families to opt out. And that being said, you know, we would want to take that case by case.
Right, so I just felt like this language might be intimidating for people, and I just wanted to ask for some clarification on that.
Can you tell me what the SBAC stands for?
Sorry, that's the Smarter Balance Assessment Tests, the CAST. We really don't refer to ASVAC as much as we used to, but that's the CAST testing for
Yeah.
English and math competency.
Okay,
That's,
that I understand, the other one I don't understand.
SBAC is kind of the old,
Yeah,
one,
that's
but
it.
it's very still commonly referred to as that, so.
I guess.
Yeah, how many students did you have full-time independent study last year, and how many do you expect this year?
The maximum numbers that we serve are 15 per section, and this year we're offering 2 sections. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, Dale, in terms of last year, but coming off of COVID, there were obviously different restrictions and requirements for districts to provide more independent study services for students. So without that mandated language in the law, we've narrowed it down to serving less than 10% of in total enrollment, which was the original language that the state set forth for districts, no more than 10%. And so we really want to encourage students to obviously attend in-person instruction, but we know there's a need to serve some families that maybe have extenuating circumstances. So we have allocated 2 sections on the master schedule, and our contractual language has a cap on those 2 sections at 15 per. So we'll serve no more than 30 full-time independent study students, and then short-term independent study is requested on a case-by-case with some criteria, obviously.
Yeah, just to follow up, if more than 30 students applied, would that mean you would not take them?
At this juncture, yeah.
Yeah. And those are not necessarily homeschooled students then?
That is correct.
That's a different, do you keep track of that category?
We track those numbers, and that's a part of our yearly, as best we can, right? As part of our yearly enrollment updates, we look at, you know, homeschool, foster youth, in district, students who've left the district. Those reports will be coming before the board in their annual sequence at a board meeting coming near you. Soon.
Families
I can't remember which month.
Families are expected, if you're going to homeschool your child, that you communicate that with your local district and or at least the county. They're expected, but that doesn't mean that they do.
How many kids are homeschooled in West County?
I think it's hard to tell.
Nobody's exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't think it should be true. We should know the number.
School might know.
Yeah, so it doesn't play to, but
yeah. We're gonna keep trying to figure that out, yeah. I mean, you know, I've been really doing a lot of recon and research and studies on enrollment and trends and where kids are going and where they're at. It's definitely something that's on our radar.
Is there any other public comment on this item? Any board discussion? Is there a motion?
I moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote, Sean?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Louis?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion passes. We're moving on to human resources items, and the first item is the consideration of approval of the employment contract for the Annalee Wellness Coordinator, Sheila Richmond, who we've mentioned several times.
I know, right? So, this is the contract for our new wellness coordinator, Sheila Richmond, and I did outline the bullet points of her contract in the cover sheet. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those questions for you.
Any questions from you? Is there any public comment? Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the of contract for Anley Wellness Coordinator.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Sean?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Lewis?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
And I.
The motion passes. Item number 2 under Human Resources is consideration of approval of the monthly personnel report.
So I do have some updates. We hired Henry Atherley, who is our math teacher. And we had a section of academic support that we needed a teacher for, so he submitted his letter of interest. So what that did is that increased him to a 1.2 FTE. And we entered into an agreement with the union, but we didn't sign that agreement until Monday. So I'll have to bring that MOU to the board in September. But we did have an agreement with the union to enter into a 1.2 FTE for one of our employees. And then we did hire another food service worker, Lori Jones, and she's working 4 hours a day. We did hire our food service coordinator to replace Ryan Warren, and Jessica Lyons starts tomorrow. And we also just hired, the employee is a current employee of the district. Etienne Esoff is actually a paraeducator, but he submitted a letter of interest for a vacant behavioral assistant position that we had open at Anlin High School. So he's moving into that position, and I posted today the paraeducator position to replace him, and we already have somebody in the wings that is interested in that position. They were just waiting for it to get posted. So we're hoping that we can get them on board. We're hoping to wrap it up by September 1st. So I just wanted to make a note that we've hired 27 new employees since the middle of June, and we still have a few left to go, but we did hire all but one of our certificated positions, and we're interviewing for a part-time special ed teacher for the consortium, and we have some classified positions that are open that we're trying to fill. So we had a very busy summer, but I'm really happy with our new hires.
Thank you for all your hard work.
That's a lot of work. Yeah, thank
You have a question here.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
First of all, Mia crushed it this summer, finding us incredible staff. You really did above and beyond your job. It was excellent. I do have a question about under the certificated employment section. What is the peers group lead? I don't see it in our contract. I didn't see it belong to our staff.
It's a stipend position. It's on the auxiliary salary schedule. It's an after-school program that we're offering for our students, and Violet's running that program, and she'll have an assistant, which is another classified it is a classified position, Rose Barboza, who's listed on here as well under the classified. But it's a program that Laura was able, she just walked out of the back room too. That she worked on bringing to the district, and it's being funded with a grant. So she applied for the grant, and it's a 2-year program, so we can provide these services to our students after school.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I add just to elaborate on what Lily shared and provide some context? In speaking with my counterparts at comprehensive high schools throughout the county, many of them are still scrambling to try to fill vacancies in teaching positions all over the place. They're amazed that we're not. And I'm really grateful to Mia and to all of the teachers who came in to staff those interview committees throughout the summer. A big effort on the part of a lot of people, and I am super impressed with the high quality of the new staff across the board. Really quite amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mia, very much.
Are there any other public comments?
Yeah. Is there a motion to approve this salary report?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Sean?
Aye.
Aye.
Absolutely.
Julie?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Thank you, Mia. And now if you can tell us about this next item, consideration of approval of assignments outside of credential area.
Sure. So this is a routine item that I bring before the board every year, usually in August. Sometimes we have some adjustments and there might be another teacher that we're assigning outside of their credential area. But you'll notice that most of the teachers that are assigned outside of their credential area are in an elective class. And I won't read through all of those teachers' names, but we can do this with an ed code. And then we do have a couple teachers that are assigned outside of their credential area in a core subject assignment. And I'll just note that Bruce Myers is one of our teachers at Laguna, and teachers at a continuation high school are able to teach any subject, but they have to consent to it. And so Bruce has a special education credential, but he's going to be teaching world history, physical science, and film literature, which is common to see that happening at a continuation high school. But it's exciting this year at Laguna because Greg has teachers that are credentialed in every single core subject.
Awesome.
Did you want to say something about that, Greg?
Bruce is teaching science. We have Josh Shaw as our.
I'm sorry, I meant PE. Sorry, thank you. And then Jane Mays is teaching 2 sections of independent study that we offer.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment? Motion.
I move that we approve assignments outside of credential areas.
Second.
Roll call vote, Sean?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Lewis?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion passes. Item number 4 is consideration of approval of variable term waiver request for Spencer Burrows for a career technical education choir and instrumental music teacher.
So we hired Spencer just in the nick of time. I think we finalized everything on Friday before school started. He was able to join the staff on Monday. And because he has a CTE credential, he hasn't gone through a teacher preparation program. So what you can do as a district is you can apply for a waiver, and that gives the district a year and the employee a year, but they need to enroll in a teacher preparation program at that time. And so he's already enrolled into the North Coast School of Education, and that will give him his teacher preparation that he needs, and then also his EL authorization. And it takes 2 years to complete that program through SCO for him to clear his CTE credential. Well, he'll get his preliminary, and then he has to clear the credential, go through induction.
So if it's a 2-year program, we would expect to see this again next year.
No, because we already have the waiver and
The
he's
waiver.
already enrolled in the program.
Okay.
So we won't have to do this waiver again for him. But we typically see these waivers when it's a CTE credentialed individual. And because they haven't gone through a teacher preparation program, they haven't gotten the EL authorization education that they need.
And then, is there a cost to that program, and do we
There is,
participate in that anyway?
yes, there is a cost to it, and the district pays for that. It's $3,500 a year and for the 2-year program, and the district does pay for that.
And is there any requirement that they stay with us for a certain amount of time or pay back the
No,
credential?
we don't have.
I've heard of
we
that
don't
happening
have an
for other
agreement.
types of programs. I wonder if that's something worth considering in the future, or, I mean, if we see that sort of turnover, if we are making an investment and then losing people.
The other thing that I do want to say, and Chuck mentioned it a little bit in his report, that all of our new teachers have a peer coach, but all of our teachers that are new to the profession, somebody that's coming in with a CTE credential or has a preliminary credential, they have to go through induction and clear it. They all have a support provider as well. So they're getting a lot of support through the district.
Chuck, you had a comment.
Can I make a comment now?
I wanna
Yeah,
hear your
just with respect to that question of supporting a new teacher through an induction program, particularly in career technical education. Keep in mind that we are experiencing a severe teacher shortage, and we're asking, working professionals to come out of their trade, to go to school for a couple of years, and to take on a room full of hormonal teenagers. So we need to figure out how we're gonna retain teachers and support them in learning their craft. And it's tough. Countywide, more than 50% of first-year teachers won't come back next year. So I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some way we can ensure that the ones we're supporting are staying with us, but I think one of the ways is just by being welcoming to them and helping.
Great.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Any discussion from the board? Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the variable term waiver.
I'll second that.
Okay, so roll call vote, Sean,
Aye.
Jeannie,
Aye.
Louis,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
and myself, aye, motion passes. The next item is an update on the state budget from Andrew.
Oh, sorry.
All right, the State Budget Act was signed by the governor on June 27th, and then typically if there's significant changes to that budget that we didn't originally adopt from the May revise that came out, we would make those adjustments and present those in 45 days. Well, this year, over the past few years, there wasn't any significant changes from that May revise, so that would impact current year budget. But I did as part of the agenda item attachment, put the school services dartboard that is commonly used and suggested by the County Office of Education, Sonoma County Office of Education, that we kind of follow those prescriptions and forecasts that school services does put out as we're building our budget for the current year and then into our multi-year projection. To point out, as we look at school services and what their California CPI projection is, CPI is projected to, the consumer price index is projected to be a little lower and kind of stabilize over the next couple of years around 3%. So just as we look at expenditures and what's going to be happening, we kind of build that into the budget, and that's what we did this year as well. A particular note that I did want to point out as regards to the art and music and instructional materials discretionary block grant. There was a initial projection that would be reduced, and part of the final budget act, it was reduced by 6%. And our original allocation was $980,000, and with that 6% reduction, we're losing or being reduced almost $55,000 to $925,000. Again, that's the one-time funds that we have to use for art, music, or other discretionary activities that our district has a plan for, and we'll be bringing that back for final approval before we start expending those. And we've worked with Casey Jones and the fine arts team, Jolene Johnson, kind of a meeting, we've met with them about kind of what is their vision for art and music. And then of course we have the Prop 28 funds that is now an ongoing state general fund contribution to that program. And we're expected to get about almost $194,000 of that for this current school year, so once that comes in. Additionally, the learning loss recovery, the learning recovery emergency block grant has had a reduction of 15% as part of that state final budget act. We have received the original allocation. We've already received those funds. So we've had to set up a receivable to pay that back to the state. It's anticipated that that will be done through our apportionment payments that come out that come to us. So they'll be reducing that probably in our first apportionment, and that's reduction $195,000. See that $195,000 from that learning recovery, and then we pick up in the art music Prop 28. So those are kind of the significant impacts that are going to happen, but that is going to impact our multi-year projection. As you know, we haven't anticipated to expend all those funds. The Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, is now at almost $1.2 million that we have to spend over the next few years. So that's kind of where the State Budget Act is right now. We will go in and continue to do our monthly budget revisions to what's been happening. We'll bring back first interim and continue that budget cycle, first interim, come back in December, second interim in March, and then again come to budget development, and then unaudited actuals actually will come to you in September for last year. So that's kind of where we're at with the state budget right now.
Debbie?
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring it to people's attention that if you will remember back, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, we had been told that the Prop 28 was going to be reduced by 30%. And you heard Andrew just say it was only reduced to 6%. And, right, correct? Yeah.
Discretionary, not the project.
Right, oh, this discretionary, not the Prop 28, okay. Anyway, I will tell you that that is completely attributed to the fact that many of us and many of you and many of our other communities have spoken up to our legislatures and said, do not let that happen. That is money that was already guaranteed us, and don't let the governor steal that money from us. And they spoke very loudly, obviously, and convinced him to only reduce it by 6%. So I just want to say it does matter that you contact your legislatures. It does matter that you reach out and express your frustration and stand up for schools. We need each and every one of us every time we can to stand up for schools so that our money isn't just randomly, grabbed from us. So again, it really pays. So thank you everybody that did. And if you didn't, next time, please do.
I have two comments. Well, one is to if you want to listen to and address one of your legislators, Mike McGuire will be speaking at a town hall tomorrow night at Guerneville Elementary. So anyone who is interested in asking questions about state issues should come out to that. It's at 5:30 at Guerneville Elementary. I want to just touch on what Andrew, what you were talking about, the 1.2 million in learning recovery. And that is something that came from the state to really help support our students who were impacted by the pandemic and by being home and not having, regular school for so long. And I just want to say that I am really eager to see what kinds of innovative programs we're going to come up with to help those kids, because there's a lot of suffering and learning loss that's gone on. And so I'm glad that we have that, and I'm looking forward to hearing our plans for it. Not tonight. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, then we can, right, we don't have to vote on that right now. Then our next item is Jenny with the Measure A bond and budget project updates, Julie's favorite. We can't see your face because there's some weird thing over the screen.
I sort of have your head nodding.
No, she's just like, you can see her head bobbing around.
Okay.
There she is.
So I didn't cue this up, so give me a second.
while she's doing that, I just wanted to point out that we just had a very large influx of our classified staff that are taking care of our campus, walk in and come and sit down. I just want to personally tell you, thank you so much for what you do.
That was on purpose. They got a text message to the damn be here.
I don't care, they're here, thank you.
I know, they got a text message for me because I was gonna do a little something.
Good.
Just give me a second to get this up. Got to queue up my own item. Did everybody else's? Where is it? Where's my click here button? There it is. I moved the website around. So. All right, just taking a few minutes to update you guys, but first, I wanted to kind of piggyback on what Jeannie was saying. Not often do we get a chance to applaud the efforts of what I consider to be the unsung heroes of our district. They crawl in the dark hours of night and make their magic happen. And when everyone goes away and enjoys a summer break, much needed, thank you teachers, thank you classified staff. We come in and we clean the campus and we clean it from top to bottom. And typically when we do that, we don't have to navigate through a boatload of contractors doing a variety of things, from ripping up the floor to redoing the paint, to putting down new floor, to at one point we had really great skylights, which meant there was nothing there. It was great air filtration systems. And get in and out of the main building in 2 weeks' time. I cannot thank my team. I call them a team because I feel like we all work alongside of each other, and only a portion of them are here tonight. We're missing our head custodian, Francisco Soto. We're missing our grounds crew, Marcos Scullion Rivas, Logan Atwell, Sam I can't remember Avalos, right? I can't remember Sam's last name. I always get on the spot. We have a new member of our team. Where are you, Joe? We like to keep it in the family here too. We're all related. We're also missing our IT team, which is made up of Jay Fabian, Matt Yonkers, Brian Lee, Denise Fisher. Did I miss anyone? And we've got in the back Ishmael. On the far right, Antonio, Jose, Paul, Joe already stood up, and then we have Les, our one maintenance guy for the entire district. I feel like I'm in great company with them, and I could not thank you guys enough. This was impromptu. I said, get over here. I'm gonna give an update on all the things that we did this summer. I want my team here to be appreciated and thanked. So you guys rocked it this summer. You rock it every summer, and we know that everyone comes back from their break and says, hey, how was your summer? Our response is, huh? We were here. But we love what we do, and we love making people smile, and we love hearing how shiny the floors are and how much you appreciate the hard work that we did. And it goes a long way to sometimes those difficult days where we're dealing with those hormonal teenagers who are navigating their way through the world. And I thank my team for coming to work every day because it's always different. So thank you for your work. That was totally impromptu. Sorry, I hijacked my own item. I'll make it brief tonight. Really excited to give you an update on all of our progress on the board approved projects from October, the reaffirmed approved projects by this board this past June. Let you know that I've done my best to update this section of the website. I've done the project updates while we're sitting in this meeting. I have not been able to update the budgets as of yet. That's a target for next month. A lot of it has to do with we're closing the books for last year and just the crossover of closing out projects. So I just haven't had a chance to get with Andrew, and we also had a new bond money come in, so I gotta calculate all the dollars and cents with him. We'll start spending it again. So project AA25 is district-wide technology upgrade. Happy to say that this project is complete. We're able to install all the projectors and screens that arrived really like a year after we received them. So that is done. We have heard from some of our newer staff that they're wanting some technology, so we might have a second iteration. You know, in hindsight, it's always 2020. We probably should just put everything in all the rooms so we don't have to move stuff when teachers move around, because that does happen. So that's on the horizon. The press box was put on the shelf, but I've already started some conversations with Loretta and the boosters and other folks that could potentially help crowdfund this project. Sorry, where am I next? HVAC in the main building. I know people would have heard that that'd be done this year. I apologize. I only can work as fast as our permitting authority. This project is at DSA. We are currently going through the back check process. I realize not everybody knows what my terminology is. Back checks is where they make their comments, we comment back, and we just go back and forth with redlining the documents and getting it to a place where they'll be approved. We're hoping for approval in the next couple of months. And then we can start the procurement and phasing of the project, because we don't think that we're going to be able to get it all done in the summer, which means that we'll just work with you guys on how we implement that. But it's forthcoming. It's in a good place. The next 4 or 5 projects are all in DSA as well. AA28 is a small gym. That's the HVAC and roofing. Again, we're going through back check with them as well. Unfortunately, the DSA process is months. It can be 6 to 8 months in length. And then you have the time where you guys go back and forth with the architects, and we're in that back and forth process right now. Same thing for the cafeteria, roofing and HVAC, the wood shop, or otherwise known as the Industrial Arts Building, HVAC and roofing. That also includes solar. And the main gym, roofing, HVAC. And all those projects that I just mentioned, if you haven't been in the main building to see the floor and the paint, the floor and the paint will continue on through all of those buildings, similar to what we've done, including the stairs. The East Wing, HVAC and roofing also at DSA. Door and security locks. We finished the survey. We have a meeting in a couple of weeks to discuss the conclusion of that survey and really start to carve out that massive undertaking of a project. Anyone who doesn't know, we have over 500 door openings on this campus alone. All those door openings have a lock, and all of those locks have a purpose, and trying to figure out how to key them and what best system to provide as an end solution is what we're working on that with them, as well as the other campus. But it's a huge undertaking. So trying to figure out how to appropriately size that with taking care of doors, door closures, door locks, and what kind of locking mechanism. But over summer, we had the bus come, and the DO took a field trip over there, and we had a little fun looking at all the delivery solutions that they have. And skylight replacements in gray. Look at that. What does gray mean? Gray means it's done. And I just have to say, this is a long time coming. They were in tragic condition when I started in this district 10 years ago, and to be able to report that they are finished is just, you know, it feels really great. And if you haven't been in the main building, walk in those hallways, it makes a huge difference. So pleased to have that done. know you don't have to look up and look like the sky is literally falling. Sorry, this shouldn't be called the two-story classroom building. This is the CTE classroom facility. We're currently at the tail end of what we call schematic design. There's 3 phases of design. There's schematic, there's design development, and then there's construction administration. So schematic is where we're really having those like conversations with our stakeholders and our CTE teachers. And we're at the tail end of that. We're ready to show them the plans that we've developed and then ultimately come back to the board sometime in September and October to show you those plans before we start any further into design development and then developing construction documents. Because once we get to that point, it's kind of like no turning back. It's a huge undertaking to go backwards versus forwards. So that project is moving along pretty good. We had to update the construction schedule. It would be a construction schedule of late spring of 25 over the course of 18 months, opening in fall of 26. So we'll have more information for you when we present that item specifically. Forestville Building C roof. The roofing portion of this project is complete. If you recall, you approved a change order that allowed us to add in the HVAC to this project due to some unforeseen conditions. We ordered that HVAC equipment. Contractor anticipates it being on site in December, and we're trying to coordinate that work to happen over the holiday break and have minimal impact to the teachers that are in it. Portable temporary housing. This project is currently on hold, pending the need for temporary housing. We may be re-strategizing some of the CTE facility projects and how they come online. So whether we'll demolish or and prep the area before, we just don't know what that sequence looks like right now. So we've got it currently on hold. This was a project that was already finished. That was due to flooding, the weight room, the chalkboard removal project we finished in June. That was for classrooms L1 and L2 that had really old chalkboards. Teachers are very happy with the end result there. We were able to take care of all the cargo containers, remove really old nasty cargo containers, install new cargo containers that have ventilation. This is where all of our equipment will go live as we start to not use the outer shop anymore as storage. Main building flooring stairs project is what I call 99% complete. There's 1 bay of stairs upstairs adjacent to the theater that haven't been done. They ran out of material. That material arrived, whoops. That the material arrived the other day, and we're just trying to schedule the work around the students on the weekend. Gotten a lot of positive feedback. If you haven't been in there, please go. The floor looks gorgeous, and I'm not saying that because I picked out the color, but I did pick out the color. If you don't like it, just don't tell me, because I was really proud of that. Also, the painting was done, and the poor painters had to repaint the trim like 4 or 5 times because I didn't like the color, and it all worked out really well. Art1 roll-up door, was really happy to do this for that teacher, and then found out she's moving over to the ceramics classroom, but she was really happy that this was done for the new teacher coming into that space. So that project is finished. Forestville Building F, HVAC and roofing, you guys just approved that in June. We're currently in design, hoping to get into DSA as soon as possible, just so we can sit in that bin for a minute. Forestville Building, the gym building HVAC investigation. I should have the report about mid-September, and I'll have a better idea of where we go from there. Right now, the boilers are just really ineffective. Sunset Taft pedestrian, this is a joint project with the city. We're just waiting for them to get through their own approval paths. Apparently it takes them a while to get their own projects approved. And then last but not least, this is a brand new project, project AA43, Emily Stadium. What happened? We found a sinkhole underneath the bleachers, the visitor bleachers. And there was a pretty massive repair needed to the original cast iron storm drain that was tied into during the stadium renovation project. It was part of what was value engineered. We normally would have replaced that pipe. But because we already didn't have a lot of money, we kept that pipe in place. So we are currently working on how to resolve that. It is safe. It's been corrected. We're just now figuring out how to repair the pipe. I should say the sinkhole is safe. We've made repairs in place. The bleachers are not in any kind of jeopardy. We've been out there with all the people, consultants, structural engineer, architects, civil engineer, make sure the area is safe to play, safe for our community to come sit on and enjoy that football game that's going to happen Friday. I just don't know what day it is yet. Still reeling. But the break, the larger break is in the middle of the track, at the northwest corner of the field, right outside the field of play, but across the entire track. We're about 1.5 years away from needing to recarpet the track anyway. The bleachers, the visitor bleachers are in pretty terrible condition. They were in terrible condition when we fielded in. It was also part of what was valued engineered out of the project. And so at this point, we need to determine the next steps. So right now, the immediate step is to fix that broken pipe, and there's some really cool technology out there that allows us to jet the line, vacuum out all the dirt and debris, and then inject it with, for lack of a better word, resin, and heat it from the inside and send robots in to kind of smooth out the interior surface. It can buy us a little time because as football told me, it would be really difficult for us to move football. They would do it if we had obvious need, but right now we're trying to work around that and come up with a better long-term plan. But this was not on our radar to address right now. I mean, recarpeting is in the realm of what we would be presenting in hopefully January, February. We'll come back to you for the second iteration of projects that we'll be looking for guidance on. So we had to move this up a little bit, and we'll have more to report soon. Right now, we've allocated a budget of $50,000. Otherwise, I should have budget updates for you on all the projects at the September meeting, and hopefully more information on the status of things. So I'm happy to answer questions. It has been a while, so I wanted to go through all of them.
I have a question about that last one. So what you were saying is we have sort of an intermediary fix that we can do, and then in 1.5 years, there'll be the bigger fix. This is like the flat kind of.
Yeah, I mean, great wording there. Thank you, guys. Don't leave this. My item's last. We're gonna clean up in a minute. Okay. And I say we're because I'm gonna do it too. So yes and no. I don't know how long it would take us to get a project off the ground. I mean, if we were to start designing a stadium project right now where it was recarpeting, resurfacing the track, and redoing the bleachers, it would probably take us 6 months to get into DSA, which would take another 6 months to get out, and then take us another 4 months to construct. So that's the iffy part for me.
No, I guess my question wasn't all about that, just that you have an interim, like, it sounds like this could be a drainage issue in the winter. This pipe that broke underneath?
Yeah, we don't know how long it's been broke. It's probably been broken for, the sinkholes just don't appear overnight. This probably has been a pipe that's been broken for a multitude of years. And to answer your question, we are working with all the appropriate professionals. The civil engineer contacted I know my microphone keeps giving feedback.
You're good.
I was like,
I don't need that.
Stop breathing so hard. So to answer your question, we have the civil engineer out there who made a recommendation to contact a local company called Miscus, who performs underground pipe repair up to 12 inches, so the 10-inch sewer line. And we're going to attempt to fix it. We haven't determined, they're out there, they're uncovering the pipe on both sides. And this is our attempt to fix it. So I'm just letting you guys know. I don't know what I don't know yet, but hopefully at the September meeting, I'm telling you, we have a very successful patch. Great, on a very old pipe.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny, very much. Great report. Appreciate all of the updates.
Any other questions from the board? Julie? No? Any comments? Yes, David?
Of all these tremendous things that Jenny has been doing this summer, one of the things she didn't mention that is very dear to my heart was she did some restriping and relabeling of parking spaces in the main parking space out in front of the main Emily building. And among other things, the visitor spots are now clearly labeled as visitor spots. We've had a problem where visitors come on site and they didn't know where to park, and inevitably they're parking somebody's assigned spot. And I've been out there where the domino effects go six dominoes down. And if you want to see a teacher get agitated, watch them show up and somebody's in their spot. So it's been just really great to see that happen. And I think it was kind of a last minute project. Is that right?
And I'm not gonna take any credit for this. Les, our one maintenance guy, made this his pet project, and it's always on our radar, but we didn't do it until the last 2 weeks of school, and we've already made a note to do it at the end of July versus the first week of August. So I'm gonna give him all the accolades that he did. He went out there and striped every line and put every number, and he's a perfectionist. So he really likes to make it look good.
And he even created a new spot in the district office parking lot by.
What did he do?
Well, he saw that was not a spot.
Yeah.
It's like, I can fit a compact car here.
Nice. Les is great. And just so you guys know, and David, thank you for pointing that out. These are all the construction projects we're working on. We have maintenance projects. Our grounds crew goes through and really works with the fire department on fire prevention, and we walk through each campus and we deal with our setbacks with our neighborhood. We do so many construction projects during the summer, not just cleaning the campuses, not just these big ticket projects. It's all the little things. We change all the filters, we change batteries and variety of things. Our tech team comes through and they wipe clean all the Chromebooks. They prepare all the Chromebooks that we deploy. We upgrade the servers. We make sure all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. So while everyone is off campus, we are, busy bees, so that when you guys come back that first week, we're ready to go on vacation. But it's all a great effort and we love what we do. So we have a great team and really appreciate the time and space that you guys give to for us to give these updates.
Thank you, Jenny. The next item is just to announce our future meeting dates, which you've heard reference tonight. September 13th is our next meeting, and then October 3rd, November 8th, and December 13th. We're also looking to calendar our governance handbook meeting, so that's not on here. That's coming soon. And there is not at this point a date for the next DEI committee meeting. That's to be determined. And the meeting is adjourned at 9:05 p.m.
Bye,
Julie.
Thanks for being here.